obviously my favorite person to watch when I watch UFC because your game is completely jiu-jitsu, and you're able to use your jiu-jitsu in MMA format, which is so cool.
Well, thank you.
How did you have to alter your game at all for MMA, or were you able to like keep it like did you have to alter your frames a little bit when you're going to your positions?
Mm. I'd say a little bit. At least for me, I always when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I started by watching MMA. I watched Royce Gracie, do what he did in the early UFCs. I was a massive fan of Minotauro and Pride. And it's been so. I guess in the back of my mind, MMA was always there for something that was very important to me to learn how to fight for real. And of course, jiu-jitsu is a big component of that, just like boxing is a component of that. But each of the component arts has things that are unique to it because of the rule set and because of the way that the fighters in those rules, will conduct themselves in order to win. And those are good things. They build strategy and they build certain techniques. But I guess personally, I was kind of always thinking about MMA, and I know that was something that a lot of people back before I started fighting, kind of rolled their eyes at. They're like, "Oh, you're the upside down guard guy. You're going to get beat up." And I can understand why they might think that, but I think that real jiu-jitsu doesn't change much when you add punches or take away punches. But a lot of we have to be able to separate in our mind what I'm doing that's sport specific and what I'm doing that's like mechanics and jiu-jitsu specific. Because I think, it is like, winning, going to the IBJJF Worlds and winning is an unbelievable achievement. Like, again, it's like, I'm talking, I want to call you sir, man. I'm talking to multiple-time Black Belt world champion. I don't know, there aren't that many of those running around. And that was one of my dreams when I was like getting started. So it's really cool to see, people like yourself come along and alter the landscape and show it can be done and do it in their own way. And also do it drug-free, which is cool too, because that's uncommon. But anyway, I guess, as you know, it's not a who's the best grappler contest. It's who grapples the best on the day in these rules. And that doesn't mean that's not, you may also be the best grappler, but there's plenty of times that I'm like,
so many variables.
Right, exactly. And it's just like an MMA fight, isn't it? Who's the best fighter contest? Being a good fighter counts for a lot.
Who can show up that day?
Right, who can show up that day and the tactics and the strategies, So I would just say it's been neat to kind of watch, these sports kind of grow and diverge, apart, but also where they still tie together. And I that's where I say, at least in my mind, if you can take as much of the real jiu-jitsu that we'd see, your ability to pass the guard, to hold position, to utilize your berimbolo, to control space and frames, that always works in an MMA fight. The question is, can I figure out how?
So conceptually it stays the same. It's just altering some sorts of details in terms of frames and things like that.
I think so, and I think fighting is a little bit different than grappling in that I'm allowed to hurt somebody, and they're allowed to hurt
you actually
me.
Feel like you're hurting someone. Like it has a different mindset. Like it has that vibe that you're actually hurting someone.
Yeah, and they're allowed to hurt you, and I think that kind of gets people kind of into a weird place sometimes if they're not careful, and it can make you extra gritty and tough. But sometimes people get into that state of mind, and they struggle to also maintain the technical details and the little things that you need to make your jiu-jitsu work really, really well. Because it is if you stop doing your berimbolo properly, if you stop passing the guard properly, well, you being Mikey Musumeci doesn't mean that you win or that you're good at those things. You have to do the things
every day
that you know how to do. Right. So if I lose composure and just start flopping around and trying to roll for a heel hook, I stop being someone that knows pretty well how to do it, and I start being some guy flopping around rolling for a heel hook, and that guy's pretty easy to punch.